Let me ask you something. Have you ever poured your heart into something only to watch it fall apart in front of you? Have you ever worked late, sacrificed sleep, prayed for a breakthrough, and still came up short? That moment where your chest tightens, your confidence shatters, and a voice in your head whispers, maybe I'm not enough. If you've ever heard that voice, you're not broken, you're human. And let me tell you this with absolute certainty. Failure doesn't mean you're finished. It means you're in the arena. It means you're fighting. And it means your breakthrough is still alive. Because the truth is this. The most powerful stories, the greatest transformations, they begin in the rubble, not when everything goes right, but when everything falls apart and you choose to rise anyway. So don't check out. Don't turn away. If you've failed, this speech is for you. Because today we're going to dismantle the lie that failure is the end and rebuild the truth that it's the beginning of your most unstoppable self. Let's go. You see, most people misunderstand failure. They think it's the end of the road, that it's some kind of evidence that they weren't meant to succeed, that they're not smart enough, strong enough, good enough. But here's what I want you to hear right now. Failure is never final unless you decide it is. Failure doesn't mean you're done. It means you're being developed. Every single time you fail, you're getting data. You're learning something. Life is giving you feedback, not punishment, feedback. It's showing you what doesn't work so you can get clearer on what does. But the problem is most people don't interpret failure that way. They take it personally. They let it shape their identity. They fail at something and then start saying, I am a failure. Let me tell you something. There is a world of difference between failing and being a failure. Failing is an event. It's a moment in time. Being a failure, that's a decision. That's when you take the event and let it define your entire identity. And that's why I say, don't wrap your self-worth around an outcome. You've got to detach your value from the results, because if you don't, every stumble, every rejection, every missed shot is going to feel like a personal assault. And that's how people start to shrink. They stop taking risks. They stop trying. They trade their potential for the illusion of safety. But here's the truth. When you shift the way you look at failure, everything changes. You start to see it as a stepping stone, not a stop sign. You begin to recognize that failure is a part of the process, not a detour from it. Every breakthrough you want in life is sitting on the other side of what you once called a breakdown. Think about a baby learning to walk. They don't fall once and decide, well, I guess walking's not for me. They fall again and again, sometimes hard, and yet they get back up every single time. Why? Because falling is built into the process of learning to stand. And the same is true in your life. So if you've failed, good. That means you're alive. It means you're moving. It means you're in the game. And if you're in the game, then there's still time to win. But you've got to change your relationship with failure. You've got to start seeing it for what it is, a lesson, not a label. Because when you see failure as feedback, you stop running from it and you start using it. And that's when everything begins to shift. You've got to understand this. Your identity is not tied to your outcomes. What happened to you, what didn't work out, what fell apart, that's not who you are. But here's what happens. Most people fail at something and they internalize it. They turn a result into a reflection of their worth. The business didn't work out. I must not be cut out for this. The relationship ended. Maybe I'm unlovable. I tried. I gave everything and I still didn't win. So maybe I don't have what it takes. That is the lie. And it's a lie that will steal your power if you let it. Because here's the truth. You are not your performance. You are not your past. You are not your bank account. your GPA, your resume, or your follower count. You are something far beyond all of that. You are the one who creates outcomes, not the one who is defined by them. And when you finally separate your identity from your circumstances, that's when you get your power back. See, what's dangerous is not the failure itself. What's dangerous is when you take the pain of that moment and weld it to your sense of self. That's how people build identities out of disappointment. They start to wear the failure like armor. They become the person who almost made it, the person who never finishes, the person who's always let down. And they live in that story over and over again, not realizing they're the one writing it. But hear me, your identity is not fixed, it's chosen, it's built every day with every decision, with every belief you adopt or reject. You are shaping who you are becoming. So the question isn't, did I fail? The question is, who am I choosing to be because of this? But when you decide that your identity is greater than any result, you stop shrinking to fit your past. You stop letting circumstances script your confidence. You start realizing you can lose a battle and still be a warrior. You can make a mistake and still be worthy. You can fall flat on your face and still be meant to rise. That's how you start rewriting the story. You stop saying, I'm not enough, and you start asking, what can I learn? How can I grow? What's the truth beneath the noise? And when you get to that level of honesty, when you strip away all the guilt and shame, you realize that failure didn't define you. So today, if you've been letting your outcomes determine your identity, it's time to cut the cord. You're not done. You're just becoming. And who you're becoming is far more powerful than anything you've ever been. Let me tell you something about pain. Most people run from it. They avoid it, numb it, distract themselves from it. But pain isn't your enemy. Discomfort, setbacks, the sting of failure, these are not the things holding you back. What's holding you back is the belief that you shouldn't feel them, that they mean something's wrong, that you're broken if it hurts. But pain is not the problem. Pain is the process. Emotional strength doesn't come from everything going right. It comes from getting hit and refusing to stay down. It comes from those dark nights when everything in you says, quit, and something deeper says, not yet. That's where fortitude is built. That's where grit is forged. You don't become unshakable by being untouched. You become unshakable by going through the fire and discovering that it didn't destroy you, it revealed you. And I get it. No one wants to feel broken. No one signs up for heartbreak, betrayal, disappointment. But here's the truth. Those moments are invitations. They're calling you to rise, to deepen, to become the kind of person who doesn't just survive life, but commands it. And that only happens when you lean into the very emotions you've been taught to avoid. Think about the strongest people you know, the ones who inspire you, who walk into a room with conviction, who speak with a kind of grounded certainty. They weren't born that way. They earned it. Through loss, through failure, through getting knocked flat, and making the decision to rise with more purpose, not less. You build emotional fortitude the same way you build physical strength, through resistance, through repetition, through pressure. The moment you stop interpreting pain as a signal to retreat and start using it as fuel, everything begins to change. You stop feeling like a victim of life and you start becoming the architect of it. When the world says you should give up and you answer with, watch me, you're stepping into a whole new level of power. That's when emotional resilience isn't just something you talk about, it's who you are. And I'll be honest with you, there's no shortcut, there's no hack for this. You can't bypass the fire, you can only walk through it. But on the other side, that's where the breakthrough lives. That's where you find a strength you didn't even know you had. So if you're in the heat right now, if life feels heavy, if things feel uncertain, if your heart's tired, don't run from it, lean in. Because this isn't the end. This is the season where your next level is being born. We've been trained to chase certainty, to play it safe, to avoid mistakes and stick to what we know. But let me tell you something you might not want to hear. Growth and comfort do not live in the same neighborhood. If you're serious about becoming more, doing more, living more, you have to get uncomfortable. And that means risk. That means you're going to fail sometimes. That's part of the deal. The people who grow the fastest, who create the biggest impact, who live the most fulfilled lives, they're not the ones who play it perfect. They're the ones who are willing to take the shot even if they might miss. They're not afraid to look foolish. They're not obsessed with getting it all right the first time because they understand something most people don't. Progress demands risk. And risk comes with loss, with uncertainty, with the possibility that it might not work out the way you imagine. But what's the alternative? Living small? Playing not to lose instead of playing to win? You can't build a meaningful life hiding from what might go wrong. You've got to move forward anyway, not recklessly, but courageously, with clarity, with conviction, and with the willingness to fall and get back up. You have to stop asking, what if I fail? And start asking, what if I don't try? Because that question will haunt you far more than any failure ever could. The regret of inaction weighs more than the pain of falling short. At least when you try, you gain something. You grow, you stretch, you find out what you're capable of. But when you sit on the sidelines, all you get is the illusion of safety. And let's be honest, playing it safe isn't actually safe. Staying in your comfort zone feels secure, but it's a slow death. It drains your passion, it dulls your purpose, it eats away at your belief in yourself. Every time you shrink from the edge, every time you choose what's easy over what's meaningful, a little piece of your fire dims. And the scariest part, you start to forget it was ever burning in the first place. But when you embrace risk, when you accept that falling is part of flying, everything changes. You become more alive, more resilient, more powerful, because you're no longer living to avoid failure. You're living to grow, to stretch, to evolve. And that mindset, that's unstoppable. So if you're on the edge right now, if there's something in you that knows it's time to leap, but fear is holding you back, I want you to hear this. The edge is where you meet your potential. The edge is where your future is waiting. Don't back away from it. Step into it. Risk the fall, because that's the only way you'll ever rise. Failure doesn't disqualify you, it initiates you. It's a rite of passage. And I don't say that to romanticize the pain or sugarcoat the setbacks. I say it because it's true. If you look at anyone who's done anything extraordinary, you'll find the same pattern. They went through something that almost broke them, and they came out different, sharper, deeper, more grounded. Not in spite of the failure, but because of it. We all want the success story, the win, the recognition, the breakthrough moment. But most people want to skip the part where everything falls apart first. That's not how it works. That struggle, that pain, that season where nothing makes sense, that's part of the story. That's where your character gets built. That's where your values get tested. That's where you find out who you really are when everything familiar gets stripped away. But here's the problem. Most people try to rush past that part. They resist it, they fight it. They think, if I'm failing, I must be off course. No. Sometimes that failure is the course. Sometimes that low point is the very thing that prepares you for what's next. Because success without depth is shallow, and strength without struggle is fragile. Look at any great leader, artist, athlete, anyone who's made a real impact. And I guarantee you, behind the scenes is a long chapter of failure, of being overlooked, of hearing no again and again, of showing up when no one clapped, when no one believed, when it felt like nothing was working. But that season, that's where they built the resilience. That's where they created the internal standard that no external result could touch. And the same is true for you. You don't need to avoid the failure. You need to honor it. Because what you're going through isn't random. It's not meaningless. It's shaping you. It's sharpening the edge of your purpose. It's burning away what you thought you needed so you can uncover who you really are. So instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Start asking, what is this preparing me for? Because when you reframe failure as preparation, you stop feeling like life is working against you, and you start seeing how it might be working through you. Don't hide the scars. Don't bury the losses. Use them. Let them be part of your rise. Because one day, someone's going to look at you, not for what you achieved, but for what you overcame, and they'll see what's possible through your story. The struggle may have marked you, but it didn't make you less, it made you real. You know, people talk about failure like it's the worst thing that can happen, but it's not. Failure is just part of the process. It's messy, uncomfortable, frustrating, but it's not final. The only real failure, the only one that can truly stop you, is giving up, quitting, deciding that the pain, the doubt, the weight of disappointment is too much, and walking away from what you were made for. You can fail 100 times and still win. You can fall flat over and over and still rise to something extraordinary. But the moment you decide you're done, that's when the story ends. Not because you weren't capable, not because it wasn't possible, but because you let the fear speak louder than your vision. You let the moment define your destiny instead of using it to shape it. The truth is, failure can never destroy you unless you hand it the keys. And you do that by checking out mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You do that when you let the temporary become permanent in your mind, when you confuse exhaustion with defeat, when you convince yourself that just because it hasn't happened yet, it never will. But listen to me, as long as you're still breathing, as long as your heart is still beating, you're not done. You are not done. I don't care how many times you've been rejected, how far you've fallen, how long you've been stuck. If there's still breath in your body, there is still potential in your future. You can pivot. You can rebuild. You can come back stronger, wiser, more focused than ever before. And the world needs that version of you. The one who didn't quit. The one who didn't let the storm have the final say. The one who refused to let the chapter of failure become the whole book. You've got to make a decision. Not a feeling, a decision. Because you won't always feel strong. You won't always feel motivated or clear or confident. But you can decide that you're not finished here. You can decide that your story has more to say. And when you make that decision, when you plant your feet and say, I'm not backing down, something shifts inside you. You stop waiting for conditions to be perfect and you start creating momentum. Even if it's messy, even if it's slow, even if it's hard. The most powerful thing you can do when life knocks you down is to get back up and move forward, even if it's just 1 inch at a time. Because that act right there, that refusal to quit, is what separates those who talk about potential from those who fulfill it. So don't count yourself out. Not now, not after everything you've survived. You're not done. You're just getting started.